3 months ago, almost to the day, men on helicopters from SEAL Team 6 snuck their way through Pakistani airspace to storm a fortified home and kill Osama bin Laden. On Saturday, in the bloodiest single day of the Afghan war, 30 Americans were killed when their helicopter was shot down by what was certainly Taliban forces. The dead included 5 Army personnel, 3 Air Force Special Forces members, and 22 members of SEAL Team 6. I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta. And here to look at what happened in the skies of Afghanistan and the political aftermath are Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. All right, gents, this is kind of a tough one. We'll start with you, Scott. What did we lose out there on Saturday?
Well, on one level, we lost some of the best trained people in the world in any profession. We're talking about guys who, you know, when Navy guys want to become SEALs, about 70 to 80% of them drop out of the training. 3/4 of those because they can't take it, 25% because they're kicked out. These are among the most elite soldiers in the world. And at that level, we lost something that's almost irreplaceable. Thank God there's so many other great young men who are willing to step up. But on a broader level, we lost people with names like Daddy, Honey, my boy. Yeah, we sure did. All right, Bill, the AP reports that an Afghanistan official said the whole thing was an elaborate trap, that the Taliban commander lured U.S. forces to the scene by tipping them off that a Taliban meeting was taking place. Bill, does this look like payback for bin Laden?
I don't think that war is a series of paybacks for individual actions. A war is a conflict of the most serious nature between large-scale opposing philosophies. The problem with getting into the war with the West, with people like us, is that we don't tend to sweep these things under the carpet. We tend to look at them, analyze them, find out what mistakes were made, and determine not to do them again. So number one, I think we can learn that we're not going to be seeing this kind of trap laid for us so successfully in the future. And number two, if I know those SEAL guys especially, they're going to be looking for some payback for this thing. When you're in a war, you will take losses. And if you don't expect to take losses, maybe you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, the other guy gets a vote. He gets to shoot back. It's an awful
That's
thing.
right.
Scott, the president didn't have anything to say about what happened until Monday afternoon at a press conference, or a press appearance, where he appeared almost an hour late. And here's what he had to say.
There is no one who embodies the qualities I mentioned more than the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. And this weekend, we lost 30 of them when their helicopter crashed during a mission in Afghanistan. And their loss is a stark reminder of the risks that our men and women in uniform take every single day on behalf of their country.
There was a crash, he said, nothing more. For such a slaughter, wasn't that a little bloodless?
Well, I mean, the first thing I want to say is, Mr. President, you're the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You have people across this country who are the loved ones of other soldiers who are now in active duty, and some of the people who lost a loved one in this disaster, this shoot-down. And can you not look us in the eye for 1 second? Don't you know where the camera is? Don't you know that people are looking to see what kind of reaction you have, and you're ping-ponging back and forth between the teleprompters? And secondly, it was not a crash. It's war. It was shot down. Let's be honest about things.
Yeah, Scott, I'm glad you touched on that, because I want to get Bill on the same thing. Bill, the next clip, the president gave a tribute to the sacrifices made by our troops and also by our allies. But when we play this next clip, I want you to watch the president's eyes very closely.
Day after day, night after night, they carry out missions like this in the face of enemy fire and grave danger. And in this mission, as in so many others, they were also joined by Afghan troops, 7 of whom lost their lives as well.
He didn't just look back and forth, as Scott said. He dodged the camera every time he switched from one prompter to the other, didn't he? What does that tell you?
It tells me that this man has always found being commander-in-chief the most uncomfortable part of his job. He announced the bin Laden thing, not in the Oval Office, but out in the hallway. I remember during the Fort Hood shootings, the whole thing. I mean, I just don't, I don't have to add any more to that. I think the thing that is the most shameful about this incident was reported on Instapundit when a reader said that as a person who has family in the Special Forces unit, it was the height of irresponsibility for the Obama administration to release the fact that a helicopter had been shot down before the family was notified. There's a very small, very tight community, and when you tell them that 25 of them are gone, That means just about everybody in the country who has relatives in the SEAL team thinks they're going to lose somebody.
That's just shameful. Scott, one last clip for you. Watch this one.
So I've spoken to our generals in the field, as well as President Karzai, and I know that our troops will continue the hard work of transitioning to a stronger Afghan government and ensuring that Afghanistan is not a safe haven for terrorists. We will press on, and we will succeed.
Scott, the president has spoken about hard work to transition and press on until we succeed. Are those the words to inspire the troops still in the field, or even just to comfort the families who lost everything last weekend?
No, and it's almost unlistenable. I mean, it's gotten to the point where you can almost not listen to this man talk when you know people who have served. I have brothers, I have a grandfather who raised me who served in the military, and to hear him talking in such a callous manner about these people, and to make it sound like we're just, going for the next quarter's business success and maybe a couple extra pennies in our dividend instead of victory, instead of achieving a strategic objective that's important, that means the difference between life and death for our way of life. Wake up.
That's exactly right. And that's Scott Ott, host of Freedom's Charter, coming soon to PJTV, and he's the GOP candidate for Lehigh County Commissioner. Bill, one last clip, and I'm not going to set this one up. Just watch.
These men and women put their lives on the line for the values that bind us together as a nation. They come from different places, and their backgrounds and beliefs reflect the rich diversity of America. But no matter what differences they might have as individuals, they serve this nation as a team. They meet their responsibilities together.
So my question is, did the commander-in-chief really just use the deaths of 30 Americans killed in action to make a point about partisan fights in D.C.?
Yeah, I think he did. And furthermore, who talks about these soldiers this way? They come from all different backgrounds, but they've overcome their differences. What does that mean? They're Marines, they're SEALs, or they're airmen. They're all green. That's the old Army saw. They're all the same color. They're all green. This idea that they have to overcome their natural inclinations to come from separate tribes is ridiculous. And as Scott pointed out, the whole thing is so bloodless and gutless, just like the announcement of bin Laden. The only time this president ever feels genuine emotion is when he's talking about himself.
Wow. That's Bill Whittle, co-founder of Declaration Entertainment and the creator of Afterburner, right here on PJTV. Folks, the president's address yesterday, and I can't call it a press conference because even though the press was there, he took no questions. He reminded me of something from the days and weeks after 9/11. Certain people called that day a tragedy. Well, 9/11 was tragic, but it was an attack. It was an act of war. It wasn't an earthquake or a tornado. President Obama spoke of a crash, not of an attack. Something that just happens, I guess. But he also spoke of resolve. Well, resolve is a determination to do something, a commitment to a goal. And if the goal, the resolve, is to defeat our enemies and exact justice for ambushing 30 American servicemen, I didn't see any of that on display yesterday when the president spoke from the White House's diplomatic dining room. For Bill Whittle, Scott Ott, and everyone here at PJTV, I'm Steve Green.